Oh, yes.
Welcome back, everyone. Today we're taking a look at the vintage G1 reissue of the original Astrotrain toy. For anyone not in the loop, this is a Walmart exclusive item that's starting to hit shelves right now. Interestingly, when it was released, it was retailing at $50, but almost immediately was cut down to like $39.76, so at a $10 discount. So I'm thinking maybe it was a pricing error because it's like across the board, 10 bucks off all of these. I think 40 is still quite a bit to ask for such a small toy, but at least it wasn't 50. At least he's somewhere in the ballpark of what Starscream cost. I was a little hesitant to pick this guy up because I do have this mold already. I have that weird Platinum Edition, like mock tackle colored Astrotrain. But in the end, nostalgia hit me hard, and I just love the coloration of the original toy compared to the weird recolor they did. So I caved and I went and got this guy at my local Walmart. Now, if you've seen my reviews before, you know how they go. We're going to take a look at Astrotrain's packaging, as nice as it is. Then we'll take a look at his instructions, sticker sheet, I believe he has a sticker sheet. And then we'll look at Astrotrain himself in all three of his modes, because he is a triple changer, one of the first ones to ever be released. I'll be doing some comparisons along the way, and then at the end, I will give my final thoughts. So you can see his packaging is beautifully recreated from the original. Only some slight differences just to account for, modern times. But you have his really nice character art right here on the front in his robot and locomotive modes. You see Astrotrain displayed in his space shuttle mode. There, triple changer Astrotrain, because this was the gimmick, so it was like the big deal with him and Blitzwing. You got that great grid pattern. Nice little rounded corners on the flap, just like it should be. Here's a little diagram of the transformation, going from shuttle to locomotive to robot. On the sides here, you just have stock images of all three of his modes. And same on that side. And then on the back, you have your 1985 little battle diorama here. And prominently here, you can make out the Dinobots with Grimlock. You have what actually appears to be Road Rage. That's interesting. I don't think she was released to retail, right? So, I don't know. You got Jetfire. You got the Insecticons here, including the Deluxe Insecticons. Which, looking at that, just makes me sad that we still haven't really gotten proper updates for those. And you got old Shockwave there. And here at the bottom, centered, you have Astrotrain's original tech specs, complete with his little stat readout and then his bio. So his function is military transport. Motto is, in confusion there is opportunity. Creating confusion is his specialty, as a triple changer can switch from space shuttle to train to robot almost instantaneously. Thrives on foes' panic and fear. As shuttle travels at 20,000 miles per hour in orbit, up to 50,000 miles per hour out of orbit, can launch weapons and satellites, carries cargo. As a train, top speed is 400 miles per hour, range is 1,700 miles. As a robot, has great strength and carries powerful ionic displacer rifle. So, kind of sounds like they're selling you a car, doesn't it? But yeah, that is his bio. And the bottom just has the images again. Show that right side up. Alright, let's commit a sin and open this bad boy up. Alright, so we're going to slide him out here. Comes on this little folded up cardboard tray thing. So that's different. It's the first time we've seen these in the reissues. And I think the idea of this is to mimic the old, like white plastic or styrofoam inserts that they used to come on. Kind of gives the illusion of having that. And you can see him inside of a little bubble with his rifle. Here we have his sticker sheet. So I'll be applying the stickers to the toy before we continue on. And then we have his little instruction book. See, it's very vividly colored, it's beautifully printed on here. And it just kind of folds out accordion style, which is interesting. Makes for a very long little booklet. So you got him going from shuttle to train, and from train, round back to robot. shows you how to place his rifle, and then this is the sticker layout. You can see he comes with quite a few, so going to be on a bit of a break before the next frame. Alright, now we're going to take a look at Astrotrain's first form. That's his Space-Shuttle Mode. And one thing you might notice is that it's kind of hard to see him even under decent lighting. Here, make the lighting a little better. That's because his purples are very, very dark. In fact, they are significantly darker than the original version of the toy. And I want to put that out there for anyone that, is expecting a perfect recreation of the original. I mean, it comes close. It comes very, very close. But for whatever reason, they used a much darker purple than what the 80s Astrotrain toy utilized. No idea why. Might have been an error. They might have looked at a photograph that made the purple look darker than it actually is. Not really sure. But just something to be aware of. It is pretty dark. But just something to be aware of for anyone that's, looking for a pure reissue. This is slightly changed. Anyway, looking at him, the Space Shuttle Mode is quite solid for something that has to turn into a train and a robot. It's got all the major details. It's got the boosters on the back, tail fin, the wings. Got your nose cone and cockpit. And the cockpit is painted just completely black across, which is how it should be. But the Platinum Edition did that differently. You'll see that. I'm actually surprised at just how many stickers a toy this size uses. There were quite a few. Took me probably a good 20 minutes to get them all on. But yeah, it is very solid. It does roll on wheels, and very well. Just gets the inertia and just keeps going. I like that. So, it's pretty solid. And here he is along with the Platinum Edition re-release, which you can see has pretty radically different colorization. Instead of purple, it uses a lot of blue and orange, and the color layout's almost completely different. And then, of course, you have his most modern update, the new Siege Astrotrain toy, which seeks to recreate this design, but, for modern engineering and aesthetics. You'll also notice that the Siege one uses a dark gray color instead of the off-white used in the original, and that's because pretty much all of Astrotrain's fictional appearances, and even his box art here, you can see that, they used that color scheme, which a lot of people believe was a prototype color scheme that, was changed kind of last minute before the toy's release, which is why his animation model has that coloration, why the box art does. So a bit of trivia if you didn't know. And the lighter purple that this toy uses is actually closer to the original toys than what this new reissue has. So, there's a lot of different ideas as to what the perfect Astrotrain is, as far as what colors should he use, what should he look like, this and that. It's going to be really hard to find the perfect toy for any given collector. I also noticed, put this guy's stickers on way down here instead of up here like they belong, so interesting. I'm sure that was just a mistake. This is why I like, if there are stickers, that we get to apply our own. That way, if there is a mistake, you have no one to blame but yourself for that. I don't like the factory applied stickers because they tend to be very messy and poorly applied. Alright, now we're going to transform Astrotrain to his train mode. So first thing we're going to do, take his little tail fin and just hold it all the way down like that. We're going to open these panels up. You're going to flip his cockpit section about 90 degrees and then pull it out like that and flip it the rest of the way so that it turns all the way, forms the front of the locomotive there. Let this all the way in, close these panels back up, make sure they tab in right. The wings, you're going to push against the sides until they click into place. And fold the wing tips down. Take these panels, untab and flip them the other way. Tab them back in. And there you have it. This is the locomotive mode. And this to me looks a little bit less well put together than the Space Shuttle. Oh. almost forgot. Flip these panels over to complete the sides. Amateur, right? Oh, amateur. Alright, there we go. I wonder why that looks so incomplete. So yeah, this is what it looks like all together. See, there's kind of a gap here that I don't like, but I don't know if there's anything I can do about it. Where this part sits a bit lower than the other part. Might be a tolerance issue. But you get the gist of it. It is an old, I think it's steam powered, coal powered, I believe, train. Of course, it does have the rocket boosters on the back, just because where else are you going to put them? But it makes it look a little bit cooler, you know? This train's got like an overdrive mode. Here's the front, a little messy looking because it does split down the middle. And you see it's got this silver sticker. There's like a hair on it, over there. Got the silver sticker right there, just forming like the headlight. And one thing I want to point out about the stickers is that most of them are slightly too big for the area in which they're supposed to fit, which is nothing new. In fact, it's a very common problem with stickers, is they cut them a little bit too big for some reason. So you tend to get them overlapping on edges a bit, which is annoying. But overall it looks very nice. I like the way they're applied. I like the way they contrast against the rest of his body. This is a sticker too right here. Give him the nice stripe. And just like the Space-Shuttle Mode, this rolls exceedingly well. Which is something I always like to see. Nice clearance. And here's our group shot for the train mode. And you can see just how radically the colors differ between these two in this mode. Whereas this, you know, the original coloration is almost entirely purple. This is mostly white. And again, they owe that to the different color layouts of the plastic. One thing I just want to point out, on this copy, these little bars don't line up very well either. So I guess there's just a common issue for this mold, something I never really noticed before. And then, of course, on this side, you have the new Siege version. And you can see it really goes out of its way to recreate this. I mean, you got the silver headlight on top. It's the mostly purple form. Your connected wheels there. I don't know what to call it. Not trained off. Got the booster in the back. So did a pretty fantastic job of recreating that with a more complex yet strikingly similar transformation scheme. So it's just kind of a shout out to the quality of the original toy's engineering, that they reused so much of it for their update. And now for the final transformation, robot mode. Go ahead, flip these back in, out of the way. Gonna flip this back that way, like so. You're gonna pull these out and away from each other. Which was a common engineering thing they did with these old toys. Optimus Prime's legs were kind of like that too, where they like swing and then separate, and slides and separate, so. Do worry about breakage though from excessive force. Anyway, fold the wings back. You're basically partially transforming this back to Space-Shuttle Mode. Fold this back, take his booster section, untab it, then just fold it flush against his back like so. Reveals his head. To get his arms, get your nail up in that tab there, pull it out. The first time you transform them, they might be a little tight from being in the package and might need to use something to pry it out that's stronger than a fingernail. But in most cases, the nail works. Alright, so you got these out. Now one thing I want to point out before I transform them the rest of the way, something you'll notice is that Astrotrain's his character model for the show and like modern interpretations, they tend to ignore his little wing chest thing. And a lot of people believe it's because when the artists were, you know, made to create the character model, the toy that they were going from was incorrectly transformed, and this was probably folded out like that. So Astrotrain, you know, his character model looks more like this. That is the theory. I don't know if there's ever a citation given, but it makes a lot of sense. So if you want to keep him more animation accurate, you could leave it like that. But if you don't, I'll transform all the way. Swing this out, slide it down, and you fold this out like that. And that is the completed robot mode. And it's very neat looking for a little toy. I did always think his arms were a little short. Wish it would have extended down further somehow, or maybe what would have been cool is if they could slide out at like this joint and get longer. They'd engineered that in there, but oh well. Got little stubby arms. And of course, he got his ion displacer rifle. Goes in his hand, plugs in with a little, I want to say 3mm handle. And you can just wield it like so. He can lift it up, though because of his chest fin, you either have to have him hold out to the side a bit or collapse the chest fin to get him to point it forward. Up to you how you want to do it, but I always thought he looked better with this thing out, so I'm just going to pose him like so. If I can get it to stay. There we go. And yeah, I mean, he just looks really neat. It looks like an 80s toy. You know, it looks like something from the age of, you know, Japanese robots and mecha and all that. But nothing wrong with that. It's a great aesthetic. And, you know, if he were a bigger toy, if they had just upscaled him, he'd be very intimidating. Probably also very expensive. All right, and here's our final comparison shot. See all three of our guys. One tolerance issue that my Platinum Edition Astrotrain always had is that he can't hold his rifle straight. When you try to straighten it out, it keeps turning back. It's like a problem with the size of the hole. So he can hold it either too far out or too far inward. Now, I don't have that problem on this reissue, so that's great. The fact that that's not a universal problem with the mold makes me appreciate the mold that much more. Knowing that I just got a bad copy, or maybe they've fixed the mold since the Platinum Edition, I don't know. And then of course you got his update. Now funnily enough, this one small gun that the Astrotrain has is supposed to be essentially this thing. Shaped similarly, much shorter muzzle, doesn't have that silencer looking thing on it. And it's funny because this gun is smaller than these, but it's on a much bigger Astrotrain, so the proportions are a little weird. Which is why, personally, I choose to display my Siege Astrotrain with his fully combined gun, because it more closely matches the, you know, body to weapon ratio. But, you know, that's what I do. So overall, my final thoughts on this. I don't know why my camera refuses to focus on that other one. That's better. Final thoughts. This is a very cool toy. It's the first time... It's not my first time experiencing the mold, but experiencing it in its original form. And I do appreciate it for what it is. I'm gonna lift his shoulder up a bit. Bother me. Now he is pretty small. And you know, there's been a lot of very heated discussion online over whether this toy is worth the price point, especially when it first dropped for $50. And me personally, if he was still 50, I would not have picked this up. That's just asking way too much for such a small figure. And, you know, the argument's been made like, oh, well, you know, if you were buy an original in the secondary market, it'd be way more. Okay, yes, but when you set a certain precedent with pricing for a certain line, in this case, the, you know, vintage reissues, and then you just keep raising that up higher and higher, it's kind of a slap in the face and seems like a really shady business practice. And I kind of feel like that's what was going on, right? We got the first wave, the first batch of reissues to come out, and they were all pretty fairly priced for what they were when you know, look at how much it actually cost to make them, you look at inflation rates from what their original price was, this and that. And then they dropped the $50 Optimus, which was just a cab. And, you know, my immediate response was $50 is too much for just the cab. Of course, you all know I caved on that one too. And then they did Soundwave. I'm like, well, I still think 50 is a bit much, but if you're going based off of Optimus, this is actually better value. Soundwave's a lot bigger. It comes with Buzzsaw, you know. And then Astrotrain dropped for 50, and I'm just like, no. Just, you're out of your minds. I think they're like experimenting to see how much people are willing to pay for these reissues. You know, they played it safe at first because they didn't know what the market was. Reissues sold pretty well, and then I feel like they're experimenting and just inching it up there. And I don't know what the cause was for the almost immediate drop in price. It could have been an error right from the get-go. Maybe it was never meant to retail for 50 and they always meant for it to be 40, which in that case, I hope that's the case, right? Makes me a little more fond of Hasbro and Walmart. Or they may have meant to actually release it at 50 and then there was just such a pushback on it they changed their minds, though I don't know if they actually were listening to the feedback on that or not. But anyway, before I just ramble on into infinity, I'm going to go ahead and start wrapping this up. Final thoughts on this. Great toy, very cool, little pricey, but not as bad as it was. So if you've never experienced this mold before and you have the $40, yeah, I think it's worth checking out. He is very cool. He's got some really great engineering for his time. He's one of the first, if not the first, Transformers toys to use ball joints, specifically here in his shoulders. Those were hardly utilized at all in the original Generation 1 toy line. Shares a lot of engineering with his more modern update. Though, if you just want to talk, value for, amount of figure you're getting for the price, I would just go with the Siege Astrotrain. He is an absolutely fantastic toy. And, obviously blows the old ones out of the water because he's much more advanced. So yeah, that's my take on it. Buy at your own discretion, but you'll have fun with him if you do get it. Of course, that's just how I feel. I'd love to know how you all feel in the comments section. If you enjoyed this review, make sure to toss it a thumbs up. If you want to see more like it or any of my other content, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you always get a heads up when I post something new. I thank you for joining me for this look at one of the first triple changers to ever be released in the Transformers brand. And with all that said, I will see you next time.